Recently, I wanted to renovate this 1980s condo kitchen. It was very dated and the cabinets definitely look like they're from the 80s. But I didn't want to spend a lot of money on brand new cabinetry. So I decided that instead of replacing the cabinets, I was going to try to paint the cabinets and add some modern hardware to see if I could update the kitchen and save money that way. The cabinet door fronts are in good condition. The cabinet boxes are wood, so that's typically easy to clean and paint. The first thing I needed to do was to remove all of the cabinet doors and old hinges. In order to clean the cabinet doors and the inside of the cabinet boxes, I used deglosser. You can also use a degreaser. Sometimes there's years of grease buildup on these cabinets, and I really wanted to start with a clean surface. I put a piece of painter's tape on the back of the door with a number so that I could keep track of where the doors went in the kitchen. This makes it easier when it comes to rehanging the doors at the end. Once the doors were clean and labeled, I set them aside so that I could focus on the cabinet boxes first. Before painting, I first made sure to tape off everything around the cabinets. I used painter's tape that has a plastic drop cloth associated with it. It's kind of like this plastic sheeting that you can end up spreading out and use as covering the wall once you have the tape part in place. I was ready to start painting. I opened the new paint sprayer. The one I used for this project was the Wagner Flexio 3500. You can find cabinet paint at the hardware store, and that's what I used. The gallon of paint cost me approximately $52, and it was more than enough for this size kitchen. I chose bright white because I wanted to keep the kitchen neutral, and I thought white would be the easiest color to choose. I poured the paint into the cup, and I was ready to go. When using the sprayer, I just tried to keep my wrist relatively steady while moving my arm with the sprayer up and down. This way I got great coverage, and it went on evenly. I kept the coating light the first time because I didn't want anything to drip or accumulate in one area. I didn't have a lot of space in this condo. There's no garage or anywhere effective for me to paint. So I set up and used this Wagner spray shelter. Actually, I just laid it right in the center of the condo where I had a space, and I was able to paint in there. The next day, after the paint had dried on everything, I went back and removed the plastic from around the cabinet boxes. When I removed the tape and plastic is when I really got my first glimpse at what a crisp, clean line was left around the cabinets and how good it really looked and felt. I was now ready to reassemble the kitchen. I added new hinges to the doors. When working with a kitchen from the 80s, it might not be easy to find the replacement hinges. I couldn't find them at my local hardware store, but I was able to find them on Amazon after searching for the correct shape and size. I then hung the doors in place again, using the same holes that were already there from before. Once I had the doors back on with their new hinges, I added some oversized pulls to the cabinet. These are 10-inch pulls with a modern square style that I like. I used a template to make my holes and then added the new pulls to further modernize the kitchen. Since I didn't spend money on buying cabinets, I was able to put some money into the kitchen by purchasing a new microwave and getting rid of the old vent hood. We also went ahead and purchased a new white dishwasher. I had new granite installed and purchased a new sink and more modern faucet. Once I saw how great it was looking, I decided to go ahead and DIY a tile backsplash to finish it off. You can see how fantastic the cabinets look. It was amazing to see how effective the spray was in covering not only the cabinet boxes, but really the door fronts. The finish looked professional, which I had been worried about since this was my first time using a sprayer and also my first time painting cabinet doors that had a laminate type texture to them. It turned out so much better than I even thought it could. I saved a lot of money and time since I didn't have to tear these all out and redo them. I hope this inspired you to paint your existing cabinets and give them a great modern update. I took these floral decals and placed them along the side of the door frame. I cut the decal and repositioned it. I continued up along the door frame, making sure to wrap the flowers. I added a few leaf decals sparingly.
Head to Dollar Tree and pick up 3 glass carafes. Take twine and wrap, tie, and secure around the glass, and clip parts of the plant off. Add water to the glass bottles, and then add clippings to the water. Hang a curtain rod and add more twine or rope from the rod.
Gonna go right down the center and just cut them in half so that I have that flat edge to go flush against the board. Space the noodles out with a little bit of spacing in between, and then attach them also with the staple gun for some added stability. I worked in sections of about 4 at a time, sprayed a little bit of spray adhesive on, and then just kind of used my hands to firmly work the leather into the channels. I trimmed the edge at the corner and then just tucked it over and secured it tightly with a little bit of spray adhesive and then also more of the staples. Once that corner was secure, I just worked my way down.
I printed a deer design from my computer and traced it on a clear Ziploc bag. I cut a square hole in the cardboard box using a utility knife. Next, I taped the Ziploc bag design over the hole. Then, I placed the box in front of the wall. I turned my cell phone light on. I put it inside of the box at the opposite end as the design, and I closed the lid. Put covers over the windows. I traced the design on the wall using a pencil. Once I was done, I turned the lights back on and was ready to paint. I was careful to work from top down and left to right so I didn't smudge the wet paint. When it was completely dry, I removed the remaining pencil marks with an eraser and damp rag.
I fell in love with this beautiful floral fabric. We measured the wall to make sure we purchased enough. We knew we needed 3 panels, so we had them cut accordingly. We started in the corner and used a staple gun to secure the fabric in place. After that, we used spray adhesive to ensure the fabric was well secured. Before drying starts, gently smooth out all air bubbles. Don't forget to overlap about an inch with each panel for a smooth transition, and line up your patterns as best you can. Once all panels are hung, smooth and staple along the bottom about a 1/4 of an inch above your baseboard. Using an X-Acto knife, cut fabric starting in the top corner going down. This will help to make sure the fabric does not stretch or tear. Place your knife between the baseboard and a credit card to help you make the perfect straight line. Gently cut around any outlets.
I think you'll be amazed at what you can create using discarded furniture. I took some bamboo sticks, which I had purchased from Amazon, and I measured the length of the front of the drawer. I cut the bamboo sticks to this length and decided that I was going to remove and discard the top drawer. I removed the old doorknobs from the remaining drawers, and then I sanded them down lightly. I spaced out my bamboo sticks, and then I applied them, simply using liquid nails. I took the drawers and the cabinets outside, and I spray painted them. While I was outside, I also cut a thin piece of plywood so that it would replace where that top drawer was that I had removed. I simply slid this into place and continued painting the entire nightstand. I added new pulls, which I had purchased online as well.
Do you have one of those dorm-style door mirrors? Let's give it an update. Tape off the mirror with paper and spray paint the wood frame. Remove any spray paint from the mirror that might have gotten onto the glass, and then clean with some glass cleaner. Measure and cut some rattan webbing. Spray one side of each rattan piece with spray adhesive. Place and press the rattan pieces onto each end of the glass on the mirror, and place some heavy books on top for a couple of hours.
Some cardboard, trace out a hexagon. Then what I did was I used the sharp knife to cut out the cardboard. Next, I grabbed an old foam pad I had and also used the exact same template and cut it out. I used some regular old wood glue, put it down on the cardboard, and then glued the foam to it. We're gonna lay the fabric out, and what you'll do is turn it around and just grab a stapler, and it holds it in place just like that. But what you get on the other side is you get your hexagon covered in fabric. I took all the hexagons and on the back and used a paint stick and stapled through them to hold them together.
Grab some pegboard hooks and shelves from your local dollar store and buy some inexpensive pegboards. Do you have leftover peel and stick wallpaper? Lay your wallpaper face down on a table and position the pegboards on the paper with a few inches of space between each pegboard. Outline each pegboard with a pencil and cut out each piece of wallpaper, including an additional inch outside the outline. Cut out the corners of the wallpaper. Peel the backing off the wallpaper and lay the pegboard face down on the sticky side of the paper. Press down firmly, wrap the outer edges of the wallpaper up and over the side edges of the pegboard. Take a screwdriver, pencil, or other poker-type object and poke holes through the wallpaper and into the pegboard holes. Hang the pegboard with the hardware provided so it is secure on the wall. Line up with the wallpaper pattern on your wall with the covered pegboard. Insert the pegboard hooks into the wallpapered pegboard to hold your keys.
I hit the hardware store and picked up some 2x2s and some 3/4 inch plywood. I measured and cut the 2x2s to the height of the headboard that I ultimately wanted to have. Once my frame was built, I added my plywood pieces on top. I screwed these pieces of wood into place. My next step was to cover it the way I wanted it to look. My solution was actually to purchase a 5x7 foot jute rug online. The price of this rug was only $62. Placed the rug around it and started to staple it into place.
I'm going to give the surface of the cabinet a quick sanding. I'm going to paint the cabinet with some creamy white chalk paint. I'm going to brush on a layer of decoupage glue and then lay on my paper. So I'm going to use my hands to flatten it out. I want to slice off the rest of the paper and want to give it one final coat of the decoupage glue. I can use a sanding block to gently take off any excess. I want to also remove the paper from those. I'm going to finish it all off with a coat of wax.
I wanted to create a dimensional wood wall. I decided to use wood shims. I stained the wood shims using a water-based stain. I stained the shims in varying degrees, some with just one light coat and others with up to 7 coats to make them nice and dark. I started attaching the stained wood shims to the wall using construction adhesive. I found it best to first place the long pieces in a random pattern on the wall and then overlay these with the shorter pieces. This way, I was building up the wall dimensionally as well as varying the color throughout. There were some gaps between the pieces, and so I had to cover these with smaller pieces at the end. When it came to the light switch on the wall, I just worked right up to the switch.
I am going to show you how to make 3 high-end looking headboards using supplies from Dollar Tree. You're going to start by flipping it over so the white side is facing down. On the back, I am using 2 paint sticks and I'm going to hot glue them over the creases. I grabbed a really lightweight towel. So I've ironed out all the creases, laying it flat on my table, and I'm going to put the piece of cardboard over the top and then just fold it around the sides and hot glue it in place. This is a really beautiful kind of beachy look. This next headboard uses peel and stick wallpaper tiles from Dollar Tree. And I laid them all out again on that trifold board, made sure that the patterns matched up. To finish off the edges, I am just folding that wallpaper over, hang these up on a wall with some command strips, and you've got a really stunning kind of modern looking headboard. Dollar Tree has these rolls of shelf liner. So starting with the trifold board as a base, I am just going to unroll onto the cardboard. I want to line up all these flowers so it looks like one continuous piece. For the back of this one, I am going to fold the remaining adhesive over the back so the edges look nice and finished. This is really easy to hang with command strips on a wall.
I wanted the frame to have some depth, so I picked up the kind of weather stripping that has a double loop to it. I want to make sure they're all a little bit longer than the mirror so that they cover the edges up. And I like to use an old box to make sure that I've got them perfectly cut. To make the weather stripping look more like a pretty frame, I'm going to paint it. Now it's time to adhere the weather stripping to the mirror. The foam has double-sided tape on the back, so all I need to do is peel off the cover strips and I'm ready to stick it into place.
Grab some 2x2s to increase your bathroom storage in a few easy steps. I cut 4 2x2s to 6 feet each and cut 6 to 19 inches, and I cut another 6 to 4 inches each. I sanded all the boards, then used my Craig jig to drill pocket holes in each side of the smallest 2x2. I secured the 4-inch boards to the 19-inch boards with pocket screws and wood glue and used a countersink bit to pre-drill the long 2x2 to the rectangle frame. I filled the screw holes with wood filler on the front side only and sanded the excess off smooth once dry. I wiped, cleaned, and painted the frame. While that was drying, I sanded cedar 1x6 boards, ripped them down to size, and sealed them with 2 coats of polyurethane. I used a brad nailer to secure the cedar boards to the top of each rectangle base and slid the shelf over my toilet.
I wanted to give this wall behind a toilet a feature without spending money. We'd recently changed the flooring and I had 1 box of luxury vinyl plank flooring left over. I started with the first plank at the top of the wall. I made sure it was level. I continued attaching pieces and securing them with the nail gun. At the bottom, I cut the plank so that it wouldn't interfere with the water line. The wall was looking great, but I needed to work on the trim pieces at the end. Since there were leftover materials lying around, I bought some L brackets and attached them to the 1x4 pieces. I then set these where I wanted them on the wall, made sure they were level, and attached them. I ran down to the hardware store and picked up 2 sheets of beadboard. Then I measured and cut the beadboard down to size using a table saw. I attached it to the wall with my nail gun. It took no time at all. The next step was to add a wood border to the top. I used very inexpensive common board. Then I painted the top of it before attaching it to the wall. When I attached the board, there was a small gap between the wood and beadboard, but it was easy to fill this gap using paintable caulking. Once that dried, I got started with painting. In order to finish off my beadboard accent, I added hooks. I always thought that changing shower fixtures was an impossible thing for me to do. Happily, I was wrong, and I was able to update this shower in a day and for just under $100. To remove the shower arm and shower head, the next part was to add the new shower arm. First, I wrapped it with the tape that comes in the kit. This helps it fit snugly. Then I screwed it in as tight as I could by hand. After the arm was in place, it was just a matter of screwing the new shower head in place. To remove the handle, I pried off the little cover using my flathead screwdriver again. Once this is off, the center screw is exposed and can be removed. I used my flathead screwdriver and a razor to remove the plate. Added in the sticky foam gasket piece and then screwed it all into place. The next step was to add the handle, which is secured in place by a screw at the bottom. I turned the spout upside down and there was a little screw there that I loosened with an Allen wrench. I added an adapter for the new spout and then just screwed it into place. The last step was removing the block-off plate, which just involved my flathead screwdriver once again. I'll show you how $35 in tile can transform your bathroom, and it's not in the way you think. I added liquid nails to the backs of the tiles and started mounting them to the mirror. I just added a little bit more liquid nails to the pieces that were going over the clips. Then I added a second row of tiles, and after that I started working my way up the sides of the mirror. Started adding tape as needed. The next day I removed the tape. I purchased some black caulking. I added it along the edges. After I added the caulking, I wiped it away using the lint-free cloth with the mineral spirits. See how one long weekend and a few DIY projects transformed this bathroom. I purchased a 60-inch kitchen sink base. I painted it, applying several coats. I had granite cut for the top. Using leftover vinyl plank flooring, I attached several pieces to the wall, grabbed some trim pieces, I cut these to size, painted them a dark gray that coordinated with the hexagonal tile, and then simply put those on the edges of the vinyl plank accent that I had installed. The only thing left now was the back wall, so the quickest and easiest thing to do was to cover it. The next step was to take some scrap wood pieces, painted them with the same paint again, added some inexpensive brackets, and mounted them to the wall.
So I went to the dollar store and I bought 3 bags of those vase filler gems. After sorting them, I washed them off using Blue Dawn and water and then laid them out to dry. I drew lines from the edge of the vanity to meet the mirror line. I applied a thin coat of mastic using a small notched trowel. Then the fun began as I pressed the gems into the mastic. I worked in small sections so the mastic wouldn't dry too quickly. Once I was done, I mixed the grout. I mixed 1 cup of grout to a half a cup of water. I applied the grout in small sections, making sure I was pushing it between each of the gems. I wanted to make sure that every spot was filled in between them. After 1 hour, I checked again, and yep, it was nice and dry. Using a large spun and plain water, I washed away all of the excess grout. I removed the painter's tape that I had placed on the top of the vanity and applied caulk, smoothing it out with my finger.
Give an ordinary storage bin a complete makeover. To start, I grabbed some decoupage medium and some decoupaging paper that I really love. There are two ways that you can use decoupage paper on a textured surface like this. The first is to dampen the paper so that it has some give to it before you put it on your surface. The other way is to add the paper dry and then dampen it after it's on. Now I want to cover the side of the basket with a decoupage medium like Mod Podge. I can lay the paper right over the glue now and start to stick the paper down and smooth it out with my fingers. With one side done, I want to move on to the end. I'm going to lay the paper right over the handle opening, and I'll worry about trimming that later when everything is dry. Again, I'm just going to cover the entire side of the bin with the decoupage glue and then lay the paper right down over it. This time I'm laying the paper down dry, and then I'm going to use my damp cloth to moisten it once it's in place. Once I have the paper in place, I also want to brush on a layer of the Mod Podge over top of the paper. This is going to help to seal it, and it's going to make it nice and durable when it's done. Now that the paper and glue are all completely dry, I want to get rid of any of the excess paper. I'm going to use this fine grit sandpaper and gently swipe across the edge of the bin. This is going to cut off the excess on the edge, and then I can just remove it from the rest. In order to make the handles look a little more upgraded and nice, I'm going to wrap them with some thick jute twine. This is going to look great with that green sack paper as well. I can hold the end of the jute twine in place with some hot glue and then just wrap it around the handle. I found these really cool wheels that do not require screws, and I want to add them to the bottom of the bin. They come with some very sticky adhesive, so all I need to do is peel off the piece of paper and stick each one in place. How much better is this bin now that it's been given a makeover? I love that I can roll it around and take it wherever I need it. I hope this has inspired you to upgrade your storage bins as well.
Grab one of these 3-drawer bins from Walmart and we are going to dress this up. I picked up some half-round pieces of wood and I need to cut them down to roughly 4.5 inches each. Now it's time to attach them to the drawers. I want to cover the front of the drawer to give this kind of a natural boho look. I picked up a multi-surface glue, so this is going to work really well on wood and plastic, and it dries clear. So I'm just going to put a dab of glue on each piece of wood and put them all the way across the drawer. Now that everything's dry, I'm going to take this outside and add a coat of spray paint. I'm opting for a real neutral beige color, and I'm going to cover the front of the drawer and the wood. I opted to leave the rest of the drawer set white. I really like the contrast between the beige and the white, and I think these drawers look so good. It is such an upgrade from the basic drawer set that I had originally.
I have these plastic storage drawers and I'm tired of seeing the things inside. To start, I want to paint the front of the drawers. Since their surface is quite slick, I'm going to go ahead and give them a quick sanding with a medium grit sandpaper first. Now it's time to paint. The drawers will need 2 coats of paint, and I'm going to use a blue and then a green to match this beautiful contact paper. I want to make sure to paint right up and under the handle. This will cover all of the front parts so that I can't see all of the supplies in the drawers. I also want to paint the handles so that when I add the contact paper, none of the white from the handle will be peeking through. Now that both coats of paint have dried, I'm going to add the contact paper to the handles. I'm measuring and trimming the first piece, and once it fits well, I'm going to use it as a template to cut the rest of the pieces I need. The back comes off when I'm ready, and it's super easy to stick right over the paint. These storage drawers are already looking so much better. I think it'll be fun to add the same contact paper to the top of the drawers as well. I'm going to cut a piece large enough to cover the entire top. The top of my drawers actually has 2 levels, so I'm going to start with the edge around first. I'm going to stick down the contact paper, and then I'm going to use this utility knife to trim out the middle that's lower. By running the knife around the edge, I can trim up the paper as well as the edges. With the edge piece done, I want to fill the middle as well. I'm going to lay down a smaller piece of contact paper and then use the same utility knife to trim off the edges. To finish off my storage drawers, I want to add some cute little labels so that I know what's inside each drawer. I love these little chalkboard sticker labels, and they're perfect to add to the side of each drawer. I'm thrilled that I no longer have to look at the supplies in these drawers. With this chic makeover, it looks so much better. I hope this has inspired you to give your storage drawers a makeover too.
Grab a plastic bin from Walmart for this project. I'm going to start by drilling a few holes into the side of the bin. This is going to be for handles down the road. Then I'm going to flip the bin over and I'm going to drill 4 holes, one in each corner of the plastic bin. I want to dress this bin up, so I picked up some gray and white patterned fabric and I've cut it down to size so that it is the right height of the bin. Now I'm going to use some spray adhesive to adhere the fabric to the plastic. When I get to the corners, I am going to cut up the side, and then I can just fold these 2 pieces over each other, creating a really nice looking seam. To add the handles, I'm going to locate the hole that I drilled with my finger and then just poke through the fabric with a pair of scissors. Now I can thread the jute through and tie a knot on the inside to secure it in place. Now I'm going to add some feet to the bottom to raise this up off the ground and just make it look a little nicer. And there you have it. I have a really nice looking bin that I can keep out in the open. It looks so much better than your basic plastic bin, and I can store all kinds of stuff in here.
Have you ever wanted to be more self-sufficient, but also stay on budget? Well, go ahead and head out to your local Walmart and grab one of these plastic drawer sets. Then get yourself some good quality seed starting mix and go ahead and moisten it up. A lot of the times when it comes out of the bag, it's super dry and you can't really do anything with that. Once you got your seed starting mix moistened, and you're going to want to grab a dry erase marker and label the 3 drawers on the bin that you bought. Once you've done that, set out some seed starting pots. These can be things that you've bought, or you can make them out of toilet paper tubes or newspaper. It doesn't have to be fancy. And go ahead and fill them about 3/4 of the way up with some of that moist potting soil or seed starting mix. You're going to take some seeds of your choosing, and you are going to place a seed or 2 in each of the pots. Now, and then take a few popsicle sticks and label them with what the seeds are. Next, you're going to take these full seed starting cups and you're going to place them inside those drawers. This is so perfect. The drawers are plastic, so you'll be able to water them right in the drawer and place them in a sunny spot, or at least a place that gets partial sun. And before you know it, just wait and see, you'll come outside and you'll find that you have some seeds that are sprouting and plants that are growing. It really is kind of like magic.
Let's run on down to Walmart, and it's time to grab your favorite inexpensive bucket. We got to get those handles off. We don't need those. Take them off both sides. They clip right off. Next, we're going to take that bucket and flip it over. We need to set in 2 strips of wood that are going to fit right on the edge. Just go ahead and set it down there. No need for a tape measure, and just mark it with a pencil. What you're going to need is definitely 2 of these. Just use your favorite saw. It's easy to do. Next, stick them on there. Make sure they fit just right inside the grooves. Then you can use some hot glue. Just 3 good dabs on the edge will do it. Just flip it over and press it against the plastic. Now I know what you're thinking. This glue does not hold permanently. That's okay. We just needed to hold until we can flip it back over. So do that to both pieces right on the edge and just hold it down till it sets. Takes about 20 seconds. Next, flip the bucket over, and what you're going to do is grab just some small little screws. They don't need to be long. We don't want them to pop out through the end of the wood. So just take your drill and put it right in. 2 or 3 in each strip of wood will be just right. Just put it in there, don't over tighten, and that's going to hold it in place. Now it's time to put on the wheels. I got these little inexpensive caster wheels, but I need the drill bit to be just the right size, and we're going to mark it 1 inch from each side of the wood. We're going to put 4 of these legs on. So once you get them marked, let's go ahead and we're going to drill it. You can just drill all the way through the plastic. It's not going to be a problem because when we set the leg in, it's going to block the hole. So these little wheels are perfect. Now it's time to take that hot glue, put it right on the edge of the hole there, and put the leg on. It's going to hold it just great. Now, if you don't want to use hot glue and you want a little different glue, go ahead. It'll work also. Just let it set up. I like using hot glue because it's fast. Once we get the legs in, look at this. They are excellent. Exactly what we need. Now it's time to go ahead and decorate the bucket. I grabbed this twine over at Dollar Tree. Just take again our favorite hot glue, put it right on the edge. This is our starter piece. just stick it right on there. You want to make sure this first row is perfect. I use the edge of this bucket right on this line, and that's going to be what I call my datum line. Just go ahead and set it all the way around, and we're going to go around the whole bucket. Once you get that on, it's time to take a little bit of your inexpensive fabric, cut about 12 inches wide. We're going to use that hot glue again, and we're going to fold over the edge. That's going to give us a nice edge to finish this off. What I did was I just worked my way down with that hot glue and kept folding it over. Be careful because it can get a little hot. Once we get both edges nice and done, what we're going to do is fold it over the bucket. It's going to cover all that plastic. Get that glue right on that last bit of rope right there. Spread it over and just mark it down right there. We're going to take this all the way around the bucket, and look at this. This is going to be a great container. We can store books, dog toys, or even toys for the grandkids. It turned out great. I hoped you loved this DIY rolling basket.
Grab some solar flowers from the Dollar Tree. Cut and use some scrap foam to adhere to the inside of the planter pot. Stick the base of the lantern solar light into the foam, then stick in faux greenery and a flower solar light. Here's some faux moss to the foam.
I grabbed 2 flower pots of different sizes from Dollar Tree. I used 150 grit sandpaper to lightly scuff up the surface. Then I applied silicone to a plastic lid and attached it to the bottom of the smaller pot. I siliconed all the way around the lid edge to create a waterproof seal. While it was drying, I grabbed some Rust-Oleum stone textured spray paint. I spray painted the outside of both pots and around the inside edge and let it dry overnight. After the spray paint dried, I mixed ready-mix concrete in a separate bucket, following the directions on the bag. I carefully placed the wet concrete in the larger bucket. I placed a large rock in the middle to help take up space. The concrete filled the bucket about 1/3 full. I used a scrap piece of 2x4 to tamper down the concrete to get rid of any bubbles and smooth it all out. After the concrete dried, I placed a plastic container in the middle so the smaller pot would sit higher up. I grabbed some garden bed pots from the recycling and used them to fill out the space and added river rock to cover the recycling. I washed another handful of river rock, placed them inside the small pot, and filled it with water. Lastly, I added this solar fountain, and it was a sunny day, so it started working immediately.
We're gonna make a really cute outdoor decoration using hangers and a shower curtain from Dollar Tree. First thing I'm doing is just spreading out the shower curtain. Now I'm gonna grab my hangers, I'm only using 4, and I'm gonna lay these out in a pattern that resembles a butterfly. I'm gonna use a little hot glue to put these together. I'm gonna hold the butterfly in place and cut around the shower curtain roughly the size of the butterfly. Flip the whole thing over. And now I wanna work on securing the shower curtain to the hangers. Shower curtain is now attached, and I'm just gonna go through, do some detail work with my scissors, and I have a set of battery-powered fairy lights. I'm gonna glue the battery pack to the center, then I'm just gonna use a bit of hot glue to tack the lights in place. For the center of the butterfly, I want something weatherproof, so I just grabbed a scrap of wood and cut it down to size, and I'm gonna paint it with black craft paint.
Let's head over to Dollar Tree and we're going to grab a paper towel holder. Let's all run down to the hardware store and grab us a wood round. Gotta sand the edges. Got to condition the wood. Let it dry about 30 minutes to an hour. Once it dries, it's time to put on some stain. We're going to get 3 of those paper towel holders and we're going to set them in place. What we need to do is paint them. Once we get it all painted, let it dry. Now we got to curve the edges a little bit and bend them. Don't bend them too far, just get them a little 20 degrees, and we're gonna do all 3 at the same angle. Now we're gonna put them in place on the bottom of our wood round. And I'm gonna take these little electric hooks that I got out of the hardware store, and I'm gonna put 4 all the way around each side of these circles here. And once I got them marked, I'm gonna go ahead and pre-drill. I'm gonna go ahead and put little tiny screws in and hold these clips in place. And I'm gonna put a little dab of hot glue, and then I'm gonna take some twine, I'm gonna set it there, and then I'm gonna start wrapping it all the way around.
Grab a glass bowl from the dollar store. I'm going to place it upside down on a wood round. Then I'm going to surround the bowl with wood beads. I found these strings of beads at the dollar store. Place a bead of glue around the bowl and then attach the beads. Once the glue is completely dry, I can pull the bowl out of the center. Now I picked up another smaller bowl at Dollar Tree. I am going to place this on the bottom of the wood round to create a pedestal. Now I'm going to grab a larger wood bead and just fill the holes with some air dry clay to create a solid round ball. Give it a coat of spray paint. With everything dry, I'm gluing the larger bead to the bottom of the glass bowl. Then I can just place this bowl right on top of that pedestal. Pick up a couple solar lights from Dollar Tree, then grab an empty pickle jar. I'm gonna start by washing this pickle jar really well. I'm just gonna soak it in hot water with soap. It's gonna get all the sticky label off the outside and it's gonna get that pickle smell out of the inside. Then I'm gonna take the dry jar and I'm gonna add pieces of twine to it. To finish off the outside, I'm wrapping a thick piece of rope around the top of the jar. Now I'm gonna fill it with some glass beads. Just pull off the stick that goes in the ground and place the light right in the jar.
Here we have a child's hula hoop that we picked up at the dollar store. So in order to secure our flowers, we're gonna have to work in a pool noodle. And all we're going to do is cut through one side of the pool noodle. So what we're going to do is open it up and work it right inside the hula hoop. And we're gonna circulate the pool noodle all the way around. So once you get all the way around, you're gonna notice that we have a little spot missing. We're gonna cut into a second pool noodle and do the same exact process. We can just take some tape and we're gonna secure the two pieces together. Now I just have some white satin ribbon. To secure it, I'm gonna use a couple floral pins and I'm gonna add some hot glue to the ends to really make sure it's nice and permanent. Now what we can do is start wrapping this. Now it's time to enhance this, and all we're going to do is snip off each individual stem. I added a generous amount of hot glue, and all we're going to do is just lift up the ribbon and poke it right in. Up next, we have some dogwood flowers. Now I have this hanging foliage, so we're gonna take it, add a little bit of hot glue, just working it underneath the ribbon. To hang this up, I'm going to use some of our wire.
I got both of my bowls from the Dollar Tree. So essentially what we're trying to do is we're gonna glue them base to base. I'm gonna be using E6000 and I'm gonna be using my hot glue gun. So I'm gonna be using chalk paint, honeycomb, folk art craft paint. We're gonna be putting some baking soda in here. Mixed, we're gonna apply it to the bowl. All right, so we're gonna be using a stone colored Rust-Oleum textured finish paint. We are going to be grabbing about 4 of these candles from Dollar Tree. We are going to melt them, and I took the wicks out and I placed them where I wanted. I'm using skewers to secure it in place. I'm going to be adding my melted wax into this, and I'm actually going to be using a scented lavender. So to start this project, we're gonna take 2 of these decorative mirrors and found these 2 hexagon frames from Dollar Tree. So we're gonna first disassemble and we're gonna spray paint. And all we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be gluing this decorative mirror to this frame. We're gonna take some LED puck lights. They come with these little sheets of adhesive, and we are going to secure it to the back here. Take a bowl and cover the bottom in plastic wrap. Next, use a sponge brush and Mod Podge. Cover the entire bowl base with Mod Podge on the plastic wrap. Take rope and begin from the center of the base and wind it around towards the outer part of the bowl. Once completely dry, remove rope layer from the bowl and any excess plastic wrap.
I have this area in the front of my house that I want to beautify, so I grabbed a bowl from the Dollar Tree and put it over to make sure it fits. Then I went to Home Depot and grabbed some spray foam. Next, what I'm going to do is put the bowl down on a garbage bag, and I'm going to grab the spray foam and start covering all the bowl up. And we're going to go layer over layer. Now, this took about 3 cans, but I want to make sure before I put the next layer on, that's a little bit dry to the touch. Once you get it on, you want to give it about 24 hours. The next step is we've got to carve the foam. Now, you're going to shape this all over. Next step, I'm going to pour some water into a bucket. I'm using Cementol. What we're going to do is mix it. You want to be able to shape it and use it almost like a clay on top of the foam. Go ahead and just start adding it to the foam and just keep smoothing it on. For the second layer, I made it a little more runny. Just go ahead and smooth it in. If it looks a little rough, you can grab a chip brush, dip it in some water, and then you can start smoothing out the concrete that you put on. Now let it dry, and then I took some black paint, watered it down, and I'm going to add a little bit of color to the rock. So I'm going to add some brown to it also. You can go with any color you want. Now I'm ready to cover up the pipe that I want to have hidden.
I scooped up this rug off of Facebook Marketplace, vacuumed the rug, sprayed the whole rug with just some water. I followed the instructions on the back of the dye box, sprayed on the dye, also doing a second coat of the dye, looping around the yarn around my 4 fingers, place that underneath, and then I'm going to tie that off and I'm going to cut open the loop. threaded the end of the tassel on there. This is my finished rug here. I've set it up in my entryway.
Grab some fabric softener and your favorite color of latex paint and measure and cut out squares. Lay the poster board squares on the rug in a checkerboard pattern. Mix together 1 part latex paint to 1 part clear fabric softener. Start to paint in the open areas between the squares. This rug can be used in so many places in your home.
So the white rug is going to be my base, and draw out some cow spots. Then I'm going to carefully cut out each of those spots. Now it's time to move on to the teal rug. Trace the white spots onto here and cut them out of teal. Then I'm going to grab the teal spots and fit them in where they go, kind of like a puzzle. Then I'm just going to use a generous amount of duct tape and secure the spots. This has the look of a high-end cowhide looking rug.
Okay, so for this project, we're going to be using an outdoor paint. Measure off 2 inches all the way around, and then we'll go ahead and add our stripes. We're gonna go ahead and remove the tape. The black stripe is gonna be next. All right, so here it is. I absolutely love how the rug turned out.
So this is the IKEA Sort Sew rug, and I'm just beginning by folding it in a third. Then I'm going to repeat that on the other side as well. Apply a bead of hot glue, and I'm going to glue one edge down completely, and I'm just going to stuff my pillow, and I'm going to just close up the other end of the pillow. Super easy way to make some cute boho pillows.
grab a plastic bin from Walmart for this project. I'm going to start by drilling a few holes into the side of the bin. This is going to be for handles down the road. Then I'm going to flip the bin over and I'm going to drill 4 holes, one in each corner of the plastic bin. I want to dress this bin up, so I picked up some gray and white patterned fabric. And I've cut it down to size so that it is the right height of the bin. Now I'm going to use some spray adhesive to adhere the fabric to the plastic. When I get to the corners, I am going to cut up the side, and then I can just fold these 2 pieces over each other, creating a really nice looking seam. To add the handles, I'm going to locate the hole that I drilled with my finger and then just poke through the fabric with a pair of scissors. Now I can thread the jute through and tie a knot on the inside to secure it in place. Now I'm going to add some feet to the bottom to raise this up off the ground and just make it look a little nicer. And there you have it. I have a really nice looking bin that I can keep out in the open. It looks so much better than your basic plastic bin, and I can store all kinds of stuff in here. Let's create an anthropology dupe. So I'm going to grab a couple different styles of this pretty paper and I'm going to cut it into 4-inch squares. Now I'm going to paint a thin coat of Mod Podge onto a white ceramic tile. Now I'm going to press these 2 together, seal them in really good, get any bubbles out. Now I'm going to come back and add a top coat of Mod Podge. I'm going to repeat this with about 35 tiles. I cut a piece of plywood to size and I'm going to paint the top using a white chalk paint. Now I'm going to place a full-length mirror right in the middle. Now to attach the mirror to the wood, I'm using Gorilla Glue. Once I've got the mirror down, I'm adding this board and some weight, and I'm going to let this set for 24 hours. Now I'm going to dry fit the tiles into a pattern around the mirror. For the corners, where I have a little bit of a smaller space, I'm actually just going to use a square of paper. So the first thing I'm doing is adding a little bit of water to the wood with a paintbrush. Now for the tiles, I'm using Gorilla Glue again, and then the 2 are pressed together. And I'm going to let the whole thing set for 24 hours. Now I have a stunning full-length tile mirror that looks like something from Anthropology.
Let's run on down to Walmart, and it's time to grab your favorite inexpensive bucket. We got to get those handles off. Next, we're going to take that bucket and flip it over. We need to set in 2 strips of wood that are going to fit right on the edge. Next, stick them on there. Make sure they fit. Then you can use some hot glue. Just flip it over and press it against the plastic. So do that to both pieces right on the edge and just hold it down till it sets. Next, flip the bucket over, and what you're going to do is grab just some small little screws. So just take your drill and put it right in. 2 or 3 in each strip of wood will be just right, and that's going to hold it in place. Now it's time to put on the wheels, and we're going to mark it 1 inch from each side of the wood. We're going to put 4 of these legs on and we're going to drill it. Now it's time to take that hot glue, put it right on the edge of the hole there and put the leg on. Look at this. They are excellent. Now it's time to go ahead and decorate the bucket. Just take again our favorite hot glue, put it right on the edge, just stick it right on there. Just go ahead and set it all the way around and we're going to go around the whole bucket. Once you get that on, it's time to take a little bit of your inexpensive fabric, cut about 12 inches wide. We're going to use that hot glue again, and we're going to fold over the edge. What we're going to do is fold it over the bucket. It's going to cover all that plastic. Get that glue right on that last bit of rope right there. We're going to take this all the way around the bucket, and look at this. This is going to be a great container. It turned out great. I hoped you loved this DIY rolling basket. Today's project starts with a few end tables that you can pick up from your local Walmart or IKEA, and they're simple to put together. Put a wheel on the bottom to make this table mobile. Get a nut that will fit on the end of those threads, and we've got to glue it to the bottom of the leg. But we want to make sure we add a washer to give it some strength, is we're going to use a 2-part epoxy. We're going to take the epoxy and put it around the edge of the bolt next to the washer, and on the bottom of our table, turn it on its side, and we've got to glue a piece of strip of wood on the bottom. Go ahead and just put some around the hole on the bottom of the leg, and we're going to take that little invention we did with the washer and the nut and stick it right on there. Make sure it gets nice and secure. That allows us now to screw the wheel into the bottom of the leg. Got to join these 2 tables together. Once you get it all on there on all 4 corners, go ahead and stick the other table right on top. Once it dries up in about 20 minutes, it's super strong and it's time to paint it. Went ahead and put these 3 boards in for the base, and they sit there really nice. It also gives some strength, but it's time to finish the top. I want to use some contact paper. Look at that beautiful DIY kitchen island. It just turned out great. And the best part about it is it can be wheeled around.
So I'm starting by cutting 2-inch strips of fabric. I'm going to fold a strip in half and just use an iron to create a seam so that they stay folded together. I'm going to use some quick dry fabric glue to attach this trim right over the existing blue trim. Once that dries, I'm going to flip this over and add glue to the backside as well. And I'm just going to push those metal hooks through the holes in the beach mat. Project was inspired by Hometalk creator So Bright Creations.
Grab some hot glue and put a bead of glue along one side of your lampshade, and then add some twine or jute. And we're going to wrap that around the lampshade until we cover the entire thing. After you have all your tassels made, we are going to add these to the bottom of our lampshade. And I decided to hot glue these. You could use a needle and thread and tie them and sew them on the edge, but this worked out perfect. You are going to simply trim off the excess tails. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that this is from a Walmart lampshade. Literally looks like I got it from Anthropologie.
I ran to my local Walmart and grabbed 2 matching pots, one bigger than the other. First thing I did was level an area in the front that would be in direct sunlight and put the bigger pot in first. Next, I grabbed an old bucket upside down into the bigger pot to make sure that it's centered. Next, I grabbed a flower pot base. I wanted to make sure that I turned it with the lip side down. We're going to take the smaller pot that we got and place it on the center of that pot. I want to grab some local rocks and place them around the edge. Next, I got out a new solar-powered fountain that I bought for $10. It floats in the water because it's got a float on the bottom, and it works great in direct sunlight. With this fountain comes some plastic spacers. What this does is make sure that the fountain stays in the center of the pot. Once you got it marked, you can go ahead and just trim it with a pair of scissors. Put some nice clear water inside. Go ahead and place the fountain inside. Once the direct sunlight hits it, voila, you've got a water fountain. The most amazing thing about this is it's solar powered, so you can place it anywhere in your yard that it gets direct sunlight.
Get a styrofoam cooler. I found mine at Walmart. Take a piece of cardboard, trace with a Sharpie, and cut with an X-Acto blade to make it slightly smaller than the lid of the cooler. Take a piece of upholstery foam and trace with a Sharpie and cut with an X-Acto blade. Hot glue the upholstery foam to the top of the lid with the cardboard on top of that. Take a blanket, rug, or textile of your choice and cut it to size to the top of the lid. Fold and hot glue to the lid and trim the excess. Use an old sheet, cut to size, and wrap around the cooler base. Hot glue all the way around the base of the cooler and trim off the excess. Cut the remainder of the blanket, fold over, and hot glue the edges to clean them up. Wrap the blanket pieces around the base with hot glue. Add tassels from the blanket around the top of the base of the cooler to give it a boho look. There you have it, a cheap way to create your own boho DIY storage ottoman for your home for less than $15.
I went to the store and grabbed some hula hoops along with black matte spray paint. I took the hoops out to my garden and decided to attach them to my house using small poultry staples. I then slipped a piece of pipe cleaner through the hole and attached the hoop, twisting the ends together. I used black electrical tape to join the hoops together. To attach the plant, I carefully moved each stem, bundling some together and following the curve of the hoop. I love the look of my new trellis, and it was so easy to make.
Give your outdoor table a makeover. I've gone ahead and flipped the table over, and I want to attach the fabric to the underside of the table. I'm going to add some clear glue to them, and this is going to help the paint not only adhere, but it's going to give it a transparent quality. Once the first coat of paint is dry, I can go over the outlines again just to make them a little darker. I'm going to use 2 of the lighter colors of the yellow and alternate them around the table. I'm going to use a water-based clear coat and apply probably 3 coats to this. I found this fun shower curtain. I'm going to start by painting the table. Use a utility knife and run it along the edge. I want to seal the paint to protect it. Put a layer of Mod Podge all over the glass, and now I'm going to lay the shower curtain onto it. Trim off the excess, add 1 more layer of Mod Podge over the top for added protection. I scoured Amazon for the perfect shower curtain. I want to make sure I leave enough hanging over. I'm going to give the table a quick coat of paint and sew them all the way around. Thread a piece of twine through the pocket I created. It's time to put the new cover on the table.
let's head over to Dollar Tree and we're going to grab a paper towel holder. Let's all run down to the hardware store and grab us a wood round. Gotta sand the edges, got to condition the wood. Let it dry about 30 minutes to an hour. Once it dries, it's time to put on some stain. We're going to get 3 of those paper towel holders and we're going to set them in place. What we need to do is paint them. Once we get it all painted, let it dry. Now we got to curve the edges a little bit and bend them. Don't bend them too far, just get them a little 20 degrees and we're going to do all 3 at the same angle. Now we're going to put them in place on the bottom of our wood round. And I'm going to take these little electric hooks that I got out of the hardware store and I'm going to put 4 all the way around each side of these circles here. And once I got them marked, I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill. I'm going to go ahead and put little tiny screws in and hold these clips in place. And I'm going to put a little dab of hot glue. And then I'm going to take some twine. I'm going to set it there and then I'm going to start wrapping it all the way around. I've got this old glass table, get it all cleaned up. I'm going to tape around all of the edges. Next, we're going to do that 2-part epoxy. We're going to pour it halfway down the table. Next, we're going to mix a little bit of teal. We're going to pour it out. We're going to go with a darker green and you're going to start spreading out that white. Start getting rid of all that flaky paint. Start spraying it with some good spray paint. It was time to put on the darkest color we have. Put some more waves on and spread it all out.
I measured and marked the table in half, 8 even spaces. I piped the mastic into each bottle top and then applied them to the tabletop. I added the remaining tops. I mixed 2 cups of grout with half a cup of water. I used duct tape to make it edge. I spread the grout onto the top of the table and I cleaned away any excess grout. I sanded the edges smooth. Using mosaic sealer, I applied a liberal coat.
The first part is making sure that the bottom is flat and level. When you're stacking the cinder blocks on top of each other, always make sure you use an all-purpose construction adhesive. It's going to hold the blocks together so there's no slippage or having them fall apart. On a project like this, you're always going to want to make sure you're wearing gloves. You're going to lay and stack 4 of these cinder blocks together. You're going to do this for both sides. Always want to make sure I take my level and just make sure it looks good. Then we're going to take 2 more, turn them the flat way. Use the construction adhesive, lay it down, and put the bricks on. These are going to lay sideways, facing each other. The next thing we're going to do, on the back half of the last cinder block, we're going to put some construction adhesive and lay this cinder block facing up. Now that we've got our cinder blocks in place, you're going to use a total of 7 on each side. The next step is putting the wood in.
I took the table apart, separating the glass from the metal ring. Laid the glass on top of the picture. I mixed 2 parts white glue to 1 part black craft paint. I outlined the sun. And once the lines had dried, I cleaned up any lines that were too thick by cutting them away using a utility knife. I painted the background using a 1-inch wide brush. I added designs to each panel. I gave the paint 2 coats of spray sealant. I used a medium grit sanding sponge. I painted the metal bright blue.
I went to Lowe's and picked up this large plastic terracotta looking pot to give this a light sand. My decor currently is horizontal stripes, so that's why I'm going to go ahead and do this and use the width of the frog tape and make this easy for myself. So I am going to do some pink and white stripes on this. I'm just going to go around and dot the edges of my pot with some silicone dots. Remove the tape, line up my frog tape with my pink line. All right, so now that our white paint is dry, we are going to peel off our tape again. I'm just going to be using this Rust-Oleum matte clear coat.
Ran down to the dollar store and picked up some pool noodles. I cut them in half lengthwise. I made sure to cut the pool noodles to the length of the bench seat, and I secured it in place using a staple gun. At this point, I also added some fabric. I chose outdoor fabric because I knew that my bench was going outdoors. I secured this in place as closely as I could to the bottom of the pool noodle, put the fabric over that piece, and secured that piece again. And I continued this pattern of noodle fabric so that I could create tufted channels, and the fabric would look like it goes all the way down in between the different pool noodle pieces. When I got to the end of the bench, I again took that last piece of pool noodle, wrapped it around the back edge of the wood, and secured it in place. Now I needed to add the legs. I had ordered these legs off of Amazon. All I had to do was secure them in place using the screws that came in the box.
Get a styrofoam cooler. I found mine at Walmart. Take a piece of cardboard, trace with a Sharpie, and cut with an X-Acto blade to make it slightly smaller than the lid of the cooler. Take a piece of upholstery foam and trace with a Sharpie and cut with an X-Acto blade. Hot glue the upholstery foam to the top of the lid with the cardboard on top of that. Take a blanket, rug, or textile of your choice and cut it to size to the top of the lid. Fold and hot glue to the lid and trim the excess. Use an old sheet, cut to size, and wrap around the cooler base. Hot glue all the way around the base of the cooler and trim off the excess. Cut the remainder of the blanket, fold over, and hot glue the edges to clean them up. Wrap the blanket pieces around the base with hot glue. Add tassels from the blanket around the top of the base of the cooler to give it a boho look.
To start, I'm going to need a wood crate, and I'm going to give this a good coat of paint here. I am using a top of a desk that I am no longer using anymore, and I'm going to take my painted crate and place it bottom side down. Then I'm just going to drill some holes and add some screws. Make sure to use screws that aren't going to go all the way through the table, but are long enough to really keep it secure. Then we just flip it over, and we have this low table that's going to offer some great floor seating. To make it even more cozy, I'm adding some cushions to the ground.
Grab an old door from your local thrift store. Place it on 2 sawhorses. Begin by removing any hinges and sanding it smooth. Once it's sanded, blow away the dust and add some primer. After it's been coated in primer, add the paint color of your choosing. We decided to go with the fresh white, but you can do any color. Paint the sawhorses as well. After it's dry, carefully get rid of any glass using a hammer, pliers, and protective gear. Next, secure the door to the sawhorses and seal the paint. The mini window we removed allowed us to perfectly place our umbrella inside.
Grab a couple of larger sized plastic planter pots and a clear round tray. Flip one of the pots over and hot glue the bottom of this pot to the bottom of the other pot. Grab a wire mesh trash can from the dollar store. Take a remote-controlled puck light. These are available at Amazon and attached to the inside bottom of the trash can. Now flip the trash can upside down and hook one end of the chain to one side of the basket bottom. Next, take a length of greenery garland and cut it into roughly 12-inch pieces. Now take some florist wire and start to wire the garland pieces to the top.
Pick up 2 matching plastic pots from Dollar Tree. Drill holes into the bottom of each for drainage. Then use some hot glue to glue them together. Pick up some of this rope. Use it with hot glue and coil it around. I'm choosing to create an oval. You could also create a circle depending on the space. I used 7 coils of jute. Grab the tumbling tower game from the toy section. You can leave these as is. I chose to add a light stain to mine. I'm creating a flat base with 4 of the blocks. Glue them together with wood glue so they really hold up. Then I'm going to add legs to the outside. I've created a couple different heights with the legs.
Ran down to the dollar store and picked up some pool noodles. I cut them in half lengthwise. I made sure to cut the pool noodles to the length of the bench seat, and I secured it in place using a staple gun. At this point, I also added some fabric. I chose outdoor fabric because I knew that my bench was going outdoors. I secured this in place as closely as I could to the bottom of the pool noodle, put the fabric over that piece, and secured that piece again. And I continued this pattern of noodle fabric so that I could create tufted channels, and the fabric would look like it goes all the way down in between the different pool noodle pieces. When I got to the end of the bench, I again took that last piece of pool noodle, wrapped it around the back edge of the wood, and secured it in place. Now I needed to add the legs. I had ordered these legs off of Amazon. All I had to do was secure them in place using the screws that came in the box. I grabbed 1 basket and 10 of these wooden pieces. I set to work staining them using these easy staining cloths. Once they were dry, I set up 2 of the wooden pieces vertically, and then I added the rest of my wooden pieces horizontally. Used some 1-inch nails and put those in place. I had purchased these 4-inch house numbers. I nailed these into place. The next thing I did to finish it up was to add some pretty flowers.
I have got these melamine plastic plates I just picked up at the dollar store. I've also got a couple of these larger silver coloured plates. That's isopropyl alcohol. I've just cleaned the plate with that. I'm going to take A little bit of alcohol here. I'm just going to squirt it onto the plate. And then I've got these really lovely, I'm going to drop a little bit on here. I'm just going to move this around a bit to start with. Alcohol on there. There we go. Here we go. A little bit more of that. You can use a hairdryer or a heat gun. I'm just going to go around and around in circles and just see if we can get some nice kind of edges. Okay, now because this is alcohol ink, I'm actually going to seal it with this KMR varnish. The second version that I'm going to do on these little plates is I'm actually going to use these stick and style stencils. This I've already coated with a second coat of paint. Okay, let's take this stencil off and see how it looks. Our third technique that we're going to create on these plates is going to be, we're going to go full Jackson Pollock. Next up, we're going to use this silver bullet. Exactly the same. I think we can do that on one of our smaller plates.
Grab a Dollar Tree solar light and one of those tall glass vases. Put the base of the solar light into the vase and then fill around it with some decorative stones. Remove the top of a solar light and wrap some floral wire around it to create a swing. Place this inside a paper lantern. Grab a few small clay pots, place a solar light into the middle, and fill around it with stones to hold it in place. Grab a larger planter, place a few solar lights in it, and then fill around it with rocks.
Today we're working with pool noodles. First you want to cut the pool noodle in half to slit them right down the center. And then we're going to fold our noodle open. So I'm going to cut this all the way through. And then I'm going to turn these upside down. So I'm going to put my glue. This is cool melt, so it's not super, super hot. And then you're going to place that. Okay, so now I'm attaching the second piece and we will insert our third piece. Okay, our glue is dry. So now I'm going to trim off the ends. We are now going to put a tray on here and we're going to decorate it. Cut 2-inch sections of our pool noodle. We're going to have 1 in the center and 6 around the outside. And we're going to place it on the top. You want to cut all the way around. Cut that small piece out of my noodle. And then your candle will fit in there just like this. Now I'm going to connect them. I'm using a hot glue gun, but it is on a low temperature. I have a big rubber band in my hand and I'm going to put that around here and let this dry.
Head over to your local Walmart and grab a few sprigs of greenery. I place the pool noodle next to the top of the planter and mark the lines. Then I cut the pool noodle with a knife to the mark. After that, I place the pool noodle pieces along with some empty water bottles inside the planter to keep everything in the center and weighted down. Then I placed the sprigs of faux greenery inside the holes of the pool noodles and fluffed it all out.
Grab some solar lights from Dollar Tree to create this outdoor decor. I'm going to grab a pool noodle as well. I'm going to cut this into small 1-inch sections, and then I'm going to paint 3 of those sections a really dark black color. I picked up this really heavy metal candle holder from a thrift store. Now I'm going to put it all together. Then I can grab my solar lights, pull off that bottom, I don't need that, and I can glue each of the lights into the center of the pool noodle. Grab a solar light, pull off the stake, we don't need that part. Then use some hot glue to add it to a metal sconce. I picked these up at the thrift store, they're nice and heavy. Then use a screw hook in a fence or a deck and hang the sconces outside. We are going to start with 7 of these bowls. You're also going to need some E6000. Just basically go around. You're going to place it on top. We're going to do this again. So I'm going to give these a little bit of time to cure. I'm going to be taking my E6000 and I'm going to go around the top of this, stack it on top, and we're going to do this one more time. I am using Dixie Belle Vintage Duck Egg Chalk Paint. So I'm actually going to use E6000 for this step. Line it up, and then we're going to let that sit until it dries. And we are going to trace around the inside of the hole that I created. You actually will not need to paint the underside, just the sides and the top. I'm going to start with the bottom part, tilt that up. So we are going to take a solar light, placing it over, put the top part of our solar light, and it's going to nestle right in.
headed down to my local Dollar Tree. I'm going to start with these glass beads. I'm going to also head over and get some rubbing alcohol. Next, I grabbed this bowl, got it from Home Depot. I'm going to grab some sand, start putting it in the bottom. So you want to fill it up to where when you get your bowl, you're going to kind of be level with the top and it has a firm foundation. Let's go ahead and start putting some more sand in so that it holds it in place. To level it out. Make sure that bowl is firm. We don't want any spillage or that thing moving when we light it up. Go ahead and put the metal bowl in, and then remember those glass beads and start placing them all the way around. Take that rubbing alcohol and pour a little bit in there. Give it a little bit of a flame and it's going to light right up.